Akin Oyebode is a professor of international law and jurisprudence. He joins us on the news at 10 for a broader look at the just concluded primaries. I want to thank you so much indeed, Professor, for coming on the news at 10. What's your impression, though, of the primaries at various parties across the country?
Well, I think it's reminiscent of what you can call a theater of the absurd. We don't have circuses in Nigeria. So the political landscape is so farcical. It's like a charade. And quite sincerely, I must confess that it's not all that new. We had this experience, you remember when one of the candidates was said to have a K-leg some years back. So the contestation for political power is so intense in Nigeria because it's probably the only game in town. And that's why it's a do or die thing. And all sorts of things have been enacted which actually belie our claim to being a democracy. Apparently, there are some people behind the scenes, what you can call they call them godfathers, but I would say they are, in fact, like heads of the mafiosi. The political parties are like armies for seizure or capture of power. And the capo di Chuli, to use the language of Sicilian mafia, they decide who gets what, when, and how. The whole idea for me, I think, just reflects the stymied and repressed, shall I say, in fact, underdeveloped nature of our political culture, where our political culture is still in the process of becoming.
But are you surprised, though, that the major political parties, despite their ideologies, have recorded this appreciable level of crisis or conflict, if you will, within them?
No, I'm not all that surprised because the parties, in my view, represent the same beer, only the labels of the bottles are different. So that's why heavens don't fall when members leave the party that they ran for office before or they were elected before and to another party, and people take it as normal. It just tells me about the underdevelopment of our political system. Okay? Where are the ideological differences between the leading parties? I fail to see those differences. So that is why we're going to have like musical chairs, okay? And no real inherent difference between the parties. I'm not surprised that you have claims and counterclaims through the political spectrum. Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to lose. I hear many of our political actors are bad losers. But have you found a good loser in Nigeria when it's your only way to El Dorado? So quite sincerely, I think the circus will continue for until Nigeria matures in order to reflect ideological divides. Look at just what happened in Brazil today. There's a clear-cut distinction between the left-leaning party and the right, shall I say, fascist party that carried the day. But just as the Americans are ruining it now, that one Donald Trump is their president, I'm sure the Brazilians, I give them 6 months, they will now start seeing that the more things appear to change, the more they remain the same.
But let's come back to our own local politics here and look at that final list of submission of names is expected to come through by 2nd of November. Do you see these parties addressing their challenges, the APC, some other parties as well that we saw? Do you see them addressing their challenges before that date and beyond, of course, 2019, the general elections?
I'm not too sure. Because, you see, the way our parties emerge, we have synthetic parties. They are not organic, okay? They are just conglomeration of forces who have a stake in capturing power, not based on a preferred outlook, ideological stance, or in fact their manifestos. We've seen in this country that manifestos don't mean anything. We had parties that would say, I will do this, I will do that, in the manifesto. And they are voted into power. The first casualty of the transition is the manifesto of the parties themselves. So you just have more of the same. So a sense of deja vu, quite sincerely. Any astute observer of the Nigerian political scene will not be surprised at what we are seeing. That is the typical Nigerian political culture. We have not departed from the way things used to be, the way things are, and will continue to be until we have a drastic turnaround in our political affairs.
Even though we're hoping that 2019 will be that point where we'll have that drastic turnaround. But I must thank you, Akin Oyebode, Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, for talking to us on the news at 10.